Welcome back to the Billion Dollar Vision podcast. My name is Trae.
And I'm Raya.
And on this episode, we're going to talk to you about making big life decisions, big life changes. And I want to pose a question to you first. Have you ever had to make a decision and it was going to be uncomfortable for you and you decided not to go that direction? You decided to stay comfortable, decided to stay put where you were? And if so, how did that turn out for you? Most likely, you regret it to this day. And we are here today to talk to you about going from good to great, making that shift mentally where you're stepping away from what's comfortable, going to what's uncomfortable in order to achieve a life full of wealth, freedom, happiness, and overall fulfillment.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about this topic because I feel like in the last 3 years, we've had huge life changes, and not just in life, but in business. And every change was really uncomfortable. So let's kind of get into where should we start? I almost like, should we start with the kids or start with the house or the business? They were all pretty huge jumps, like in identity, in uncomfortableness, in...
I mean, the uncomfortableness kind of started during COVID, right? Where we met during COVID, for those of you who don't know. Or we started dating during COVID. She asked me for my phone number.
No.
She asked me for my phone number during COVID. Now, and I say it starts during COVID because I don't know how you felt, but I don't know if people were like starting new relationships during 2020, especially when COVID first got started, right? Because it was like you were afraid to even be around people. You're afraid to touch people. You're afraid to be in the elevator with people, right? So people really weren't starting new, fresh relationships during that time, I don't think. Fortunately for us, it worked out. But that's where the uncomfortable switch started for me. And then...
What was uncomfortable about it?
Not wanting to get sick. Right? I mean, yeah.
And I had no fear. I was like, I'm not going to get sick.
Yeah, and I wasn't afraid of COVID from the standpoint of I thought I was going to die or, I wasn't afraid from that standpoint. But it's just the overall, like, the thought process of being around someone you don't know if you're going to get sick from being around them, kissing them, right? So that shift was probably the first shift I had to make because for me, I knew if this is the person that I know I like and care about and love and want to be with, I got to move past whatever the news is saying, right? So that was the first shift. And then shortly after that,
we got pregnant 3 months after we started dating. So we started dating about like July 2020, right?
July.
And
July's
by October, or maybe it was November, we found out we were pregnant. So
October.
It was October. So that was major. I just remember being like, this cannot be real. I felt like... And this is like right after we had this like major fight. I was thinking we are probably going to break up, and we did for like a week, right, maybe a few days, and then we got back together. But then I became pregnant shortly after that.
I don't even know if we got back together. You just sent me a text message.
No.
Of a pregnancy test. So now, that's what happened. You sent me a text message of a pregnancy test. And I didn't believe it, so then I made you do like 3 or 4 more in front of me. And
I was trying to trap you or something. So we found out we were pregnant, and I had already been thinking about moving out of our apartment. So we met because we lived in the same apartment building, but we met walking outside. But I had already been thinking about moving. We had been discussing it together, like, potential. Like, that's the thing about Trae and I feel like we've always been huge dreamers. And I think that's what like part of what really attracted me to you, besides that, you know, you're attractive and we had great chemistry, is like you're visionary, you're a dreamer. And one of the things he told me was, I've always wanted to meet a woman that wanted to build an empire together. And I'm like, I've always wanted to meet a man who wanted to, you know, build an empire together. And so we would, you know, go on Zillow all the time, like looking at houses. And we weren't like, I don't think we were really thinking about doing it, but we were dreaming, right? And what happened was, when we found out we were pregnant, because we spent so much time on Zillow, we knew what was available to buy.
That's true.
And it was almost, I think, the next day after we found out, and after Trae believed it was true, maybe a couple days later, that we decided to sign for our first house. And it was a house that was being built. So a brand new house, $1 million house, which was a huge jump for us, right? Like building as your first home, $1 million house that's brand new, and bringing in a new baby into the world, only having been together for 3 months. Like, that's a really huge commitment to your future together that I feel like most people wouldn't make that commitment until after marriage, right?
Correct.
But because we're so big into dreams and vision, I don't know why, but we just like knew it would work, and we decided to go for it. And so, to almost like jump timelines a little bit, I'll fast forward. This building process was supposed to take about 9 months to build our house. And it was perfect because we were going to have a baby in 9 months. Fast forward 9 months, and this builder hadn't even started. Like, they had the foundation.
To give you some context into what happened, during that time, the market was so good for sellers. He realized, so we got it at one price. He realized as time went on, he could actually sell it for more. So what he did was he delayed the building process.
On purpose, knowing we were going to have a baby.
On purpose, knowing that we had a child on the way.
We had given notice to our apartment.
Yeah, had given notice to the apartment, had spent time picking out details to go into the house. And I actually have the pictures, because I would go on walks every weekend from where we live.
They always look the same.
Yeah, I have pictures from every Saturday. I will walk by and there'll be no progress every Saturday. And but yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah.
But it was all for our favor, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we can look at it's just a lesson, right? There's as they say, there's a blessing in the lesson, right? So the blessing was he did that not knowing it was actually for our favor, because for numerous reasons. Number one, given our current situation, right? Now we have 2 children, the house would not have been big enough.
Yeah.
But also just, we drive by now and
oh my God, there are so many things wrong with the house.
Yeah. Yeah. The driveway is really, really short. It's on a busy street.
It is not ideal.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been ideal.
Let's backtrack just a little bit. So during this time, I'm extremely pregnant, about to have a baby, and I'm just pissed. But one of our favorite things to do is dream. And so although mentally at this point, we thought we were going to be in that house, right? We thought we could afford $1 million house. But we would find, and we still do this, we find different neighborhoods in Tampa that are way above, where we currently are. And we say one day we just know we're going to afford houses there. So during this time, there was certain neighborhoods that we would drive in that had multi-million-dollar houses, and they were beautiful and amazing. And we thought, one day this is the neighborhood we'll live in. And so one day the real estate agent called us from the house we were building and offered us our deposit back because they want to sell the house for more to someone else. But she said, for the inconvenience. And because we drive around so much, dreaming and visioning, we took some time to make sure we did this strategically, but we found a house from driving the neighborhood that we really liked that was also new being built, but much further along, right? Like it was almost done, just it was missing, design details. And so this house that we found was double the price, but I think I just said, Trae, can we just check this out? It looks so amazing. It's been sitting on Zillow for a while. Like, let's check it out. And we walk into this house and I'm just in love. Like it has no walls. It just has framing, but I'm just like, this is a dream. Everything we hated about, or not hated, but didn't like, but we were settling for with the other house, this house had, plus so much more, but it was double the price. And so we leave this house. And at this point we had already had our baby, Serena.
Yeah.
And we leave the house, and I look at him and I'm like, this is it.
Yeah.
And what did you say?
I think I said, let's do it.
He said, let's do it.
Let's do
and
it.
So we just looked at each other, and I think there was like maybe 5 or 6 months until it'd be finished. And so we just decided we will stay uncomfortable in our tiny apartment for a little bit longer. I mean, tiny for us with a new baby and 2 dogs at the time.
It's not that. It's a tiny apartment.
Yeah, it was small for a growing family.
Yeah.
And during this time, we'll commit to growing our business so that we can afford a house that is double the price. And not just double the price, but this means double the down payment. And so instead of a $200,000 down payment, now we're looking at $400,000 that we have to come up with in really, I think it was like a 6-month or less time frame.
Aside from that, the good part, and the reason why I say it was for us is because, so the previous builder that we just told you about, he knew we had a child on the way, did not care, delayed because he wanted to make more money, which is cool. That's what he chooses to do. We go to the first meeting with the builders of our current home, and we put down our address of where we, on some paperwork, where we currently live. The builder actually lived in the same building as us.
Yeah, he was our neighbor, I forgot.
Yeah, so the good part about it was like, he understood the time frame. He understood, like, we would see him, he would see us. Yeah. There was a respect there. So everything ended up working out literally in our favor. All because we chose to be uncomfortable and up level.
And commit to something before we were ready. At the time we signed for the house double the price, and now we're going to multi-millions here. We weren't ready for it, honestly. Like, we didn't have that money. Our businesses weren't quite there yet, like probably by far. Thankfully, on paper, it was enough to show that we could do it, but it was a stretch. And then 30 days after signing for this house, we are pregnant again with we find out we're pregnant again with our second. So we have a 3-month-old. We're building like our second house that we haven't moved into, and we find out we're pregnant, and we're committing to double our revenue in 6 months. Like, talk about a commitment that I don't think most people would make given that situation, because it's a big commitment financially, as a person, like who you have to become to make that happen, right? And we did it.
Yeah.
It was tough, but we made it happen.
Yeah, it was tough, but to go back to what we said at the very beginning of this episode, which was it's going to be uncomfortable when you go from good to great. It's going to be,
because that would have been a good house.
Yeah,
but it was not great by far.
It would have been a good. It would have been a good house. But when you add in a second child, it would have been pretty tough, especially when we have our parents who come and visit and
now
stay.
We have a playroom. We have so much more and more space, a bigger backyard.
Yeah, and so we say all this to say, you have to look at your own life and you have to assess if you have certain goals and dreams, right? Are you doing what it takes and are you making the necessary shifts to go from comfortable to uncomfortable, and not uncomfortable in a way that is going to set you back? Sometimes when you want to, let's say you're starting to work out, right? If you want to tone up, you want to lose weight, it's going to be a little pain before you actually start to see the gains, right? So this whole episode is about, are you willing to do what it takes? If you have certain goals, are you willing to do what it takes to be uncomfortable for a little bit in order to see a much greater return down the road?
Yeah. And I think the same goes for if you're an entrepreneur. Most entrepreneurs start their business by themselves, right? You're really good at what you do. So you're like, why not open a business? It seems simple enough in today's age, right? And then you find out it's not as easy as you thought. And then you get to a certain point where you're so busy that you need help. And what I see a lot of people doing is they're not willing to hire people or start growing a team, or, because there's all these fears about they have to be the best and they can't afford it. And all these things come up. And financially, it's going to be an investment, right? When you're talking about you might go back a little bit first. And it's true. If you start hiring a team, you're absolutely financially, it's going to set you back a tiny bit at first, but then you're going to grow double, triple, quadruple in time because you made that commitment and because you're doing things that most people won't. And where the greatest return is going to come from is from risk and doing things that most people won't. You get the greater reward because of that. And it's committing to the future that you have for yourself. And I think that's what we did, right? It all starts with vision and belief. Like when we would drive through the neighborhoods, we believed we belonged in this neighborhood. Like we knew it. We didn't know it would happen as fast as it did. We thought in a couple years after we're in that house for a couple years. But I think that belief being so strong and then us committing before we were ready, it collapsed the timeline.
Yeah, it definitely collapsed the timeline. And when you listen to what Raya just said, she said the commitment, but you can also replace the word commitment with investment, right? So anytime that, and that's with anything, you look at anyone's life, you look at any company, they had to make certain investments first. So they had to technically take a financial step back in order to start to see big gains. And sometimes it doesn't always work out for you, right? But you have to give yourself a chance by making the investment. If you don't make the investment, there's no way you'll ever have a shot. And so, like Ray was saying, the commitment, you gotta have that commitment. We were able, our situation, it was like a perfect storm almost. Adding a second child, a builder who didn't want us to be in his house, this property becoming available, and then us seeing opportunity, and instead of waiting for the right situation or waiting for the perfect situation, we made a decision, and we've turned this decision into the perfect decision, right? We made a decision and made it the right decision. So that's one thing that we can always wait for the perfect scenario, but sometimes you have to create the perfect scenario for yourself and for your family and for your business. It's not always going to be, the stars won't always align necessarily, but right now for us in our lives, the stars won't align when we first made the decision, but things look a lot clearer now than they did then.
And that's the thing, like, it sounds easy, but when we were going through this, it was by far emotional. Like it felt horrible during, like, when we were in it. And now in perspective, like Trae said, the stars aligned, like everything was happening on purpose. So sometimes the challenges you are going through, actually not even sometimes, I would say almost 100% of the time in my experience, that the challenges you go through are there to serve a greater purpose on your path. And the more you can understand that, like, during it, like, okay, this is here to challenge me to become a better version of myself, to put me on the right path that I'm supposed to be on, it makes it a little bit easier while you're going through the challenge.
I would almost say, like, instead of trying to understand every single step and understand why this is happening, why that is happening, just focus on understanding that it's happening for you and not to you, and find a way to make it right. And I know it sounds repetitive, but in almost every decision, the way I operate every single day right now is I try to be prepared, try to be strategic, but sometimes you got to make decisions and they're either going to go right or go left. But you got to live with the choices, live with the decisions, and go from there. Like, you can't get stuck or you can't get upset. Me and Raya have two different temperaments. So yeah, during the process, she was really, really, really high stressed. And I had some moments where it was stressful, it was tense, but I just looked at it from a different lens. So, which is probably what helps us. We balance each other out.
But I'm not normally high stressed. I was pregnant. Twice in a row.
And that's fair. I don't want to discredit any woman who is giving birth to one child, let alone two. I commend you. I think it's your body goes through a lot. Your hormones go through a lot. So yes, I'm not downplaying that. I don't want anyone to get upset about that.
Yeah, but go ahead.
With that being said, yes, we have two different temperaments. So even when you haven't been pregnant, there have been things where you've been stressed about. And it's just, you gotta, I guess we can say this too, right? You wanna make sure you have, when you're making decisions and you're making those changes, you wanna have the right people around you to, excuse me, to make sure that you're feeding yourself the right information, right? You don't want people around, if you're panicking, you don't want a bunch of panicky people around you at the same time, right? You want to have people around you.
Family.
Yeah, whether it's family, whether it's friends, like, you're going to make decisions that a lot of your family members have never had to make. And because your dreams and goals may not be what their dreams and goals were, or maybe they are what your parents or some friends' dreams and goals were, but they didn't do what it took. They didn't make the tough decisions, right? So you got to be careful sharing your dreams. You can share your dreams with whoever you want to share your dreams with, but as far as taking in information, it needs to come from someone who can give you real, credible advice and either is on the path that you're on, wants to go on that path, or has been on that path, and whether or not they've had success, they understand what you're trying to do. Because you can get advice from someone who has not accomplished what you're trying to accomplish, but they can still encourage you, right? Because they can still see your vision.
Yeah.
And so
sometimes our family and friends we grew up with are operating in fear because they love us, right? And they want to protect you. Had we told our parents that we were doubling the price of our first home and have two babies, like, they probably every single one of our parents, I would think, would say, "You're crazy. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Why? Like, you're gonna go broke."
Yeah, I mean, not just our parents, but anybody. Most people wouldn't even be able to understand what you're doing, right, and why you're doing it. But fortunate for us, we had each other, and like Raya said at the very beginning, we're both dreamers, and so
and we have grown our businesses tremendously since 2020. Like, since we even first committed to buying our first house together, that was a stretch, let alone the second, which was a 10x stretch. Like, our business, I mean, now we can make, in a month, essentially, like, depending, we'll talk about our businesses models in another episode, but we can pay a year's worth of mortgage, right?
Yeah.
We can put aside a year's worth of mortgage at a time, which is incredible.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel like we're even ready for the next level because we just know we're constantly evolving, wanting to push ourselves to become the next version of, who we're meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that being said, whether you're jotting down notes or whether you're thinking, think about who you surround yourself with and the advice that they give you, the mentality that they have. Because no matter how much money you're making right now, this is practical information that you can apply to your life, right? Do an overall assessment of, some people say the 5 people you talk to the most, right? Or you can look at the 1 or 2 people you talk to the most. Where are they at mentally? It's not about where they are at financially, really, but where are they at mentally in terms of believing in something much greater than what most people believe in, right? Where are they at mentally in terms of encouraging you along your journey? Even make an assessment of your partner, right? Whoever you're dating, maybe married to. You want to be on the same page, right? Because it's tough to have a billion-dollar vision. It's tough to have big, grand, lofty goals and have people in your ear who make you believe that it's not possible, right? I'll let you touch on that if you want.
Yeah, I can't imagine a life where I was marrying someone that wasn't aligned with in vision, in growth. And I think that's one of the things that has really helped us is when we found out we were pregnant is deciding to become aligned in our vision and saying, hey, let's look at the bigger picture. Because if we're having a baby together and we weren't engaged at the time, we had been dating 3 months, we want to be together for our child, right? And we are committed to making this work no matter what, because it's not just about us now. It's about this little human we're bringing into the world and giving them the best life possible with 2 parents. And so looking at the big picture vision for our life, we realized for scheduling, for, travel, for freedom, for everything that we wanted in our life, it made the most sense to come together in our vision and in business. Mind you, I had always previously said I will never work with my partner because I saw my parents work together and it ruined their relationship. I saw previous bosses work together, ruining their relationship. But if you make decisions based on past experiences, you're doing it wrong, right? You also don't know everything they go through and who they are as people. But if you're growth minded and your person is growth minded with you, I think it's very possible to have a vision together, work together, have a relationship, build an incredible life together. And it honestly makes everything so much easier. I can't imagine one of us being like, let's build $1 billion company. And the other one being like, that's dumb. That's impossible.
Yeah.
What I love about Trae is he makes me dream so much bigger than I ever had. And I thought I was a big dreamer. I thought had huge dreams. And then I met Trae and he made me dream at such a bigger level. And that's what the right partner can do for you. They can amplify everything in your life.
No, I'm laughing because I get on Raya for not reading, and not to get off topic, but I get on Raya for not reading all of, she starts a book and she never finishes it. And I'm looking at her books and all of them have tabs midway through, so they're not finished. But so yeah.
Book ADD.
Yeah. But to touch on what you just said, I number one, I'm thankful for you and I appreciate you. And we push each other to dream a lot bigger. Mm-hmm. And it's, even if your partner, I want to be clear, let's say your partner is in a totally different industry, they can still be supportive. I'm encouraging you to look for the support, right? They don't have to do exactly what you do or be into exactly what you're into 110%. But I do believe that whether it's your partner or whoever you speak to the most, best friends, family, they gotta be supportive of your vision and got to understand your mission because, so just to give you all a brief rundown of our model. So I am the CEO of our business. Raya is the chief visionary officer, right? And I know that she operates better. I'm noticing now she operates better when she reads more. Okay. So with that being said, since I know that, although we both have shows that we like to watch, I am now encouraging us more to read more at night because as the CEO and as someone who supports her and wants her to operate at her highest, I want to see that, right? So I want to see her operating at her highest. So I'm having us read more, right? We're ordering more books. We're reading books together. And they're helping me as well, 110%. But I know she's just a different person when she's reading more. And I noticed that. So as a CEO, I'm realizing like what's best for the company, reading more, right? And we've never even talked about that. I've never even said that, but reading more, I know is better for our overall company.
Yeah, because we got a little comfortable having two babies so close. Like nighttime was kind of like, okay, let's relax a little bit. And I do feel personally 10 times better now that we've gotten, we have, our movie nights on the weekends, but now committing during the week, we read before bed versus watch TV.
Yeah, and so in your life, you want to have supportive people who understand that, all right, she's on her mission or he's on his mission right now. He doesn't need to go out, stay out late, doesn't need to do things that throw them off. So, like I said, whether it's your spouse, whether it's best friend, parents, you want to have people who are pushing you to be just 1 or 2% better each and every single day so that you can move closer and closer and closer to accomplishing your goals and your dreams. And with that being said, do you have anything else?
Yeah, to come back to where we started at the beginning of like good to great. When I first met Trae, I thought my life was good. I had, 17th floor of a beautiful apartment, looking out over the water, traveling to entrepreneurial events, like a business that was self-run. And I thought I had a good life. And now I know I have a great life. Like, there was things that I, of course, wanted, but there was a lot we had to go through, like, stories we could share later to get to the point where we are now. Like, it hasn't been perfect, right? I mean, think about how much we did in such a short time. 2 babies, 1.5 houses built, 2 businesses, and a new business we're starting, like, condensed in a very short time frame. Like, you go through a lot of struggle to make that happen. But I really think that we've jumped collapsed timelines, right? Of who we've become. And I think looking back even on videos of myself back then, I'm a different person. It's crazy to see the growth and it's amazing. And I know that there is a next level. And so I know that in even another year that we're going to look back and oh, our life was good then and now it's even greater now. But to get there, we're going to have to be uncomfortable. We're going to have to take risk. We're going to have to start new things, which we are. And that's the only way, as Trae says, the only way to is through.
Yeah, the only way to is through. And you got to go through the bad to get to the good. And definitely in order to get to the great. So with that being said, we will see you on the next episode. We hope that this episode will enhance and encourage you to, like I said, make that tweak, get 2% better, 1% better, or even more in order to help you on your path to freedom, wealth, happiness, love, all of that. We'll see you on the next episode. Have a good one.